What is up, YouTube? It's Kingfisher745, and this is going to be episode 7 of All Hail the King. This one is kind of late, but if you do remember, we were focusing on PvP teams, in particular defensive PvP teams. So in this video, I'm going to use a few teams that have been popular in the last season and a half or so. By the way, if you did happen to miss the podcast segment that mentioned this, you can find it on thehelicarrier.com. There you'll find a lot of links, articles, and just an overall wealth of information about this game. So make sure you check it out, and I'll also provide a link in the description below. But anyways, getting into the first team, of course it's one of the most popular teams you've probably seen this season. I'm talking about Tactician Horseman of Pestilence and Infiltrator Power Rogue as Famine. My agent is also using 3 pieces of the Horseman set: the Gaunt Caress, the No Mercy, and the Ex-Oblivion. His 4th item is the Synthetic Cube. The opponents are using a pretty heavy Tactician setup along with Havoc. I think it's pretty safe to say they were expecting to face a Havoc on offense. Our first attack luckily landed, and we gained an extra turn due to tactical maneuvers. This time we weren't quite so lucky, and we do get a reality hacking evade. That definitely hurts us because we do want to finish Havoc as fast as possible. Now the AI does another typical questionable move. Instead of using Magneto's magnetic field, it goes ahead and attacks Rogue. She only uses one of her 2 counters and still does a lot of damage. At this point, reality hacking is going crazy for their Havoc. All I wanted to do was put reduced potential on him and limit his actions, but instead he's gotten back-to-back reality hacking procs. Things like this, and the way Disoriented is working pretty much every time, for the AI at least, well, it just has a lot to do with why the cube is so valuable. I've tried to get away from it actually, but Disoriented in particular is why I went back to it. Unfortunately, the new scroll isn't even nearly as good. It took me a long time to unlock it, and that's because I wanted to collect all the pieces. And now that I have it, I'm really glad that I didn't waste any gold on it. Still, I will make a video and I'll show you what I like and don't like about it. But spoiler alert, it's mostly what I don't like about it. Alright, so as far as this battle, Havoc went ahead and went with Plasma Spheres. Of course he has another reality hacking proc, but Famine still does enough damage to finish him with her Brawl. Next, I think it's time to bring out our Ex-Oblivion. Oh, and I finally got the Gaunt Caress, so I do have all 4 pieces. However, I'm only using 3 right now. Once again, that's another thing that took a really long time to complete. I wanted to make a full 4 pieces of the Horseman set video, but I could not win that Gaunt Caress. It was on the very last day that I finally got it. So yes, sometimes I want to make a video, but the game just does not cooperate. After this Heart of Darkness, Magneto's going to die to dots, and then it's just going to be the enemy agent. One thing I like to do is when there's an enemy Tactician, I want to use Absorb Power on them. Then you can end up getting extra turns with Rogue because of Tactician power. In fact, if you already have your Kree speed and you're going to take 2 actions, you can use your first to absorb power on a Tactician. Then when you attack with your second hit, you'll gain an extra turn. Let me tell you, it's really hard to beat 3 turns with the Horseman of Pestilence. Now that the enemy has used one of my most hated abilities, I'm going to go ahead and use Party Time to celebrate his upcoming death. And by the way, for those of you wondering, am I going to make a video featuring this new costume? I definitely plan to. But really, you're going to see it throughout my series and other videos as well. On Pestilence's turn, let's see how much a Jekyll and Hyde can do. And watch, it's going to do a lot of damage. So all that, and he's still not going to die because he does have Sacrificial Strength and the Orfrost Mace. What that means is we have to wait through all these debuffs to scroll, and then finally any little bit of damage is going to finish this battle. Our team still has a ton of health, and this is a pretty convincing win for the Horsemen. Now moving on to our second team up, it's going to be Quicksilver and Magneto. So it's the father and son combination. This one has been pretty popular throughout the seasons, and maybe was at its highest during last season. I've only seen them a little bit this time, but they still could be a formidable team. I'm using the Scrapper Quicksilver with the Aggressive Empowered ISO 8. So as soon as I saw that infiltrator agent, I knew they were in big trouble. In fact, it looks like we're going to take them out on the very first turn. On top of that, their Havoc has the very last turn in the round. This is kind of what I would call a perfect storm, and it's really unlucky for the opponent. But remember, before we start feeling bad, this happens to us as well. We just can't see it. Their cable chooses to give them self-temporal shift, and that's probably not what they had in mind. Also, they may get hit with a Master of Magnetism proc, and apparently a Blast from the Past. And wow, that was a huge hit at 49,000 damage. All I can say is they must not have very high defense. With my agent, I use the Neurotrope, then I'm going to go with the Warbringer Axe. That truthfully will be the end of the battle as long as this connects. So I'm actually going to use this team one more time, and then that'll be it for the video. Oh, and it's only fitting that we're facing the popular team Havoc and Quicksilver. So let's see how the father and son duo do against this amazing team-up. Their Quicksilver will be the first to act, and hopefully Havoc doesn't proc Uncanny Coordination. That's pretty much the reason why this team works on defense. You can also pretty easily notice that they're using the Shepherd Staff, so we want to finish Havoc before they use that. Otherwise, they'll just heal him, and he could end up gaining an extra turn. So far so good, and we also get a reality hacking proc. With our Quicksilver, we're going to attack their Havoc. I doubt we'll do enough damage to KO him, but if we gain time displacement, maybe we could finish him with a Blast from the Past. That is being pretty optimistic, but it's worth hoping for. Oh, and you may have noticed that Quicksilver's Blinding Punches does now place wide open on the opponent. That's not like a new buff to Quicksilver. It's actually added from the Pulverizing Augmented ISO 8. If you weren't familiar with Wide Open, it actually causes 25% additional damage from melee attacks. For now, I've equipped it to his Blinding Punches. But I can't wait till I get him to level 14, and then I get 3 more Augmented ISO 8. On my agent's turn, it's going to be overkill with the Warbringer Axe, and since I'm exhausted, I only can attack. It's best to take out Havoc before he gets healed, and also before he procs an Uncanny Coordination. Also, we'll just use the Neurotrope on our next turn. The enemy does use the Shepherd Staff right away, and then the Scroll of Uncle Bob. So we're actually lucky that we didn't use the Neurotrope because it would have been wasted. Now I'm really not sure, but they may have the Hotshot. And first they take a Blast from the Past for 30,000 damage. They don't use the Hotshot, they went with the Hard Knocks, so I think we also got lucky there. Magneto's going to use his Magnetic Field, even though it isn't a quick action because we are all exhausted. The other bad news is the fact that we won't gain an extra turn even when it's broken. So yeah, that's another reason to really hate facing Havoc. But I still think the shield was worth it because it is absorbing some damage. Once their Quicksilver takes all these turns, we're going to go ahead and attack their agent and finish her off. By the way, there isn't a ton of bruisers right now, so I really don't feel that worried about using a scrapper. It also allows me to equip the Aggressive Empowered ISO 8, and I have the Inspiring Empowered ISO 8 on my Generalist armor. This definitely helps us reach maximum damage with Quicksilver, especially if you throw in a Strengthen from our Neurotrope, which I will be using in just one moment. After I use this, I think I'm going to go with our Healing from the Light Fantastic. It's one of those times where I think it's better to be safe than sorry. With Mirror Reality and only one opponent, we don't have to worry about anything. Not even the Blast from the Past. Next, with Magneto, I'm going to use Heavy Metal. This thing does a ton of damage, especially since it also can stun. And it basically one-shots their Quicksilver. And that ends the battle and the video. We'll cover more defensive teams as the week goes on. Also, the From the Helicarrier podcast will be live later today at 4 p.m. Eastern. And there will be a brand new All Hail the King segment. So make sure to check that out, and also their website in the link below. Lastly, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and until next time, good luck, and take care.